Last March, during town meeting, Winhall voters faced an unenviable choice: punishingly high tax rates that were among the highest in the state, or foregoing wide-ranging school choice options that were attractive to parents and potential residents. Winhall does not operate its own school and tuitions all of its pre-kindergarten through 12th grade students out to other neighboring public and independent schools. An unusual spike in enrollment of 29 students, more than the district budgeted for, threw their budget out of whack and into the state penalty zone for exceeding a per-pupil spending limit. Townspeople got a partial reprieve when Burton Academy, which many Winhall students attend for high school, gave the town a one-year break in its tuition charges, accepting the state average of $15,618 per student, rather than the sending town district rate of $17,065. That alone, plus its impact on overall student spending, was sufficient to knock about 27 cents off the projected town tax rate, which still left them with an uncomfortably high tax rate of $2.12 per $100 of assessed property value. The announcement of Burton's decision sparked a dramatic moment at town meeting last March.
So what we're going to do is accept the statewide average from Winhall this year.
But as Board of Trustees Chairman Seth Bongart stated, this was a one-year deal that would not happen a second time.
We've never done this before. We can never do it again. That's really an important part of this message.
In the months since, the Winhall School Board has been wrestling with how to rein in spending and whittle it down. The town pays the state average tuition rate for pre-kindergarten through 8th grade students, but typically has paid Burton's higher tuition rate in the past. If the town only paid the state average model for Burton, parents would need to make up the differential, which for some, especially for those with more than one student in the family, could pose a significant financial burden. But for other residents, the pressure on the tax rate and the financial burden it imposes are also an issue, as the Winhall School Board heard at the start of its meeting on August 23rd.
I guess that my feeling is, as a taxpayer, that I think it's time that the parents picked up the difference between the state average and whatever Burton's charging for tuition. Now, I don't know if that throws us into that $1,000 penalty or not. I think that takes some negotiation on your part. But I think the time has come that if you're going to have a private school tuition and that quality of education, that the parents should be able and willing to pick up part of the cost. I just don't think you can keep dumping this on the taxpayers. Not when I mean, I don't know if you guys just got your tax bill yesterday, but I got mine, and it's not good. I mean, I'm retired. I don't know how you keep this up.
Hi, I'm Diane Scott. I'm the parent of a Burton sophomore and of 3 Burton graduates, and I want to urge the community to look closely at what we have as options. Burton is a private high school. However, it is our de facto public high school. It is. There is not another public high school that is as close as Burton. The majority of the students who go to all of the schools around end up at Burton. If we ask, I, for one, as a parent, am not in a position to pay the additional $3,000. I worked 3 jobs this summer in order to pay my taxes. And so, while it would be devastating for me. My house is currently on the market, and I will sell it. And I'll sell it at a loss if I have to keep my child in Burton, which would also be terrible for the community.
The board has been working hard since last March to thread the needle in search of a compromise, said board chairwoman Jennifer Samuelson. A declining enrollment number is probably the surest way of reducing education spending and the tax rate, she said.
I'm cautiously optimistic. The last 6 months have really been a state of flux, both as Montpelier is trying to figure out the direction that it's going with school mergers and consolidations, and as a town where we're trying to figure out where we're going with school choice and BBA sending town status. So we've been working sort of internally and externally and trying to really tighten the model that we have. And it looks like as of last Thursday's school board meeting, we're still having families coming into the area, but we look like we are about 15 students less or fewer than what we had budgeted for in March, which is actually really good news. So although the tax rate has been set for this coming year, it does bode well for the tax rate in following years. There are no magical quick fixes. We just need to work within the system and try to, come up with a model that's more sustainable and more predictable. And I think that will help the tax rate to stabilize. And it looks like this has been an awful year for everybody, but the payoff is going to be, I hope, that in future years, the tax rate's going to come back down, because I think the number of students is going back down.
At their meeting on August 23rd, the board heard from the Bennington-Rutland Supervisory Union's business manager, Sue Wilborn, who shared what the tax rates might look like under different merger scenarios. Those include a possible merger with the Taconic Green Regional District, which would have to be approved by all the existing towns in the newly formed school district, but that would mean Winhall students would have to attend Taconic Green schools, or families would have to pay out of their own pockets the full tuition rate to schools like the Mountain School at Winhall or Maple Street School in Manchester, which might be more than many could afford. We talked with her after the meeting about what the pros and cons of the possible scenarios were for Winhall.
The Winhall board had asked us to just compare what it might look like if they did merge with other districts. So we just made a comparison using the FY19 operating budgets and merged Winhall with Taconic and Green, the newly merged district, and Stratton, and Northeast Kingdom Choice District. So Taconic and Green obviously operates much differently than Winhall does. Winhall's a K-12 non-operating. Taconic and Green is K-8 operating and 9-12 non-operating. So they have choice in grades 9 through 12, which is similar to Winhall, but not all grades. And as we would have expected, Taconic and Green is a much larger district, and because they operate schools, it does cost a little less to educate kids when you're operating your own schools. So you would see the tax rate go down. When we merged Winhall with Stratton, who operates exactly like Winhall does, they transport their kids and they have K-12 non-operating, you saw a very similar tax rate to Winhall. And when we merged Winhall with NEK, which also operates the same as Winhall, K-12 non-operating district, we saw an almost identical tax rate. So it just shows us that like districts, like operating districts, will produce very similar tax rates. And as expected, if they were to give up some form of choice, it's likely that the tax rate would go down. We can't say how much, though, because the tax rate obviously changes every year based on what the budget is and the number of kids. But I think a larger district also would bring stability to the tax rate.
The board will be continuing to explore its options as more information on enrollment projections comes in, along with considering its Act 46 status. Winhall is currently an independent standalone district within the BRSU and has been unable to find a merger partner to consolidate with, as the legislation passed in 2015 aims to encourage school districts to do. The school board will be attending a meeting of the State Board of Education on Act 46 in mid-September, which may clarify its future ability to remain as an independent, non-operating district. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.